Hello and welcome to another day in paradise, and welcome to another edition of the Unapologetic Negropian. In today's video, we are now going to talk a little bit about ES, and we're going to talk more specifically about her time at the spiritual development organization, the Intelligencia. But first, I'm going to ask you to please like, subscribe, share, and click the bell notification. Now, before I get into things, I want to give you guys a kind reminder. The next video, you're going to take my hand and we're going to walk down that dark path that I was hesitant to go down. I'm being very serious about this. I thought twice about this. I could see that road. I wasn't sure about walking down it. But if you guys are coming with me, if you're going to support me, then we'll walk down it together. Yes, just a kind reminder that we are going down this route. I did say that we were going to go down this route. But things are going to get a little bit wild, so buckle your belts and hold on to your hats. Here we go. Now, admittedly, I was rather fascinated by African spiritualism. When I was doing the research for this video, I don't know, I could feel something. I don't know whether it was excitement, fear, or a combination of both. I don't know what it was. I think whilst I was learning things about the world of African spiritualism, as I educated myself further, I think I realized the power that was involved. For instance, I spoke to my mother about it. My mother knows quite a lot about the world. Obviously, she grew up in the Caribbean, and she knows about voodoo, and I really wanted to learn a little bit more about hoodoo. So on the phone with her, I was asking her about voodoo, and she was telling me that I shouldn't really be talking about it and that it's not really good, all the rest of the stuff, really. And then I asked her specifically, do you know anything about hoodoo? And she hung up the phone on me. There was another diviner, a real diviner, who I had spoken to in France, and once again, I'd spoken to him a number of times, trying to get some information out of him without having to pay for it. And as soon as I asked him about hoodoo, he blocked me. I started to realize that if I got things wrong, if I somehow misappropriated this information, that the repercussions could be disastrous. So very slowly, I started to delve into the world of ES and into how she was able to craft her art. Let's not forget, she's been doing it for years. She knows her stuff. She's got a lot of experience. She's a skilled practitioner, but she must have learned her art from someone. In order to get this story straight, we need to go and start right back at the beginning of ES's journey into spiritualism. For 2 years, she had a long-distance relationship. They never met each other, actually. He didn't allow her to come to Chicago, and he never went to LA, where ES was living at the time. Now, this was a long-term, long-distance relationship she was having with this gentleman. This guy had just got out of prison after serving 10 years. After 2 years of playing computer games online with one another. I find that kind of weird, but hey, whatever floats your boat. The boyfriend finally agreed to meet up with her. He agreed that she would pay for everything on her birthday, and they would spend some time with one another in a hotel. All this being at the expense of ES. I just don't understand how guys do that. I don't understand why you wouldn't shell out yourself. I mean, I can't speak to the brother or for the brother because he's not here, but I couldn't allow a woman to pay for her ticket to come and see me. So that's what happened. She flew from LA to Chicago to meet him. She went to the hotel and waited for him, and waited and waited. And he never showed up. Now, I want you to think about this situation. ES is in a situation where this guy, this loser, okay, that's what he is, he's a loser. Right, he's come out of prison after serving 10 years, so he must have been something really serious. Well, you never know in America. He's come out, she's there. She's flown halfway across the United States to meet him. Okay? What kind of... I really didn't want to say anything negative about her, but she must have been really in a sunken place to have been put in a position where she felt like this man was worthy of her. So she's already in a bad situation mentally, and then she flies halfway across the United States to meet this guy, and he doesn't show up after she's spent all this cash already trying to meet this guy. So the situation she would have been in mentally would have been even more disastrous. So it was that weekend where she's alone, she's depressed, she's in the hotel room, and she has no one to turn to. It was at that time that she needed somebody. She needed a warrior. She needed somebody that could take her, cleanse her, build her up, put her back on the right path, the spiritual path that she was longing for. So she ends up contacting none other than Chief Amachi. Spiritualist, diviner, fighter. Chief Amachi, aka Ronald Glenn Abongo Humphrey II, is a warrior in more ways than one. The married father of 3 children, Chief Amachi hails from Atlanta, Georgia, and was born in 1977. A champion mixed martial artist, his wide frame and his chiseled looks made him the perfect choice for the 2018 movie Black Panther, starring the late, great Chadwick Boseman. After his retirement from MMA fighting, he traveled to Africa to learn more about African spirituality. Upon his return, he started up the organization, the Intelligencia, which is a spiritual development organization, teaching both voodoo and hoodoo. He traveled back to Africa in 2018, where he was initiated into the Mama Wata spiritual sect. Chief Amachi specialized with helping women with generational curses and how these curses need to be fixed in order for the woman to have a loving, healthy relationship. She was, of course, attracted to him, and, well, who could blame her? Look at him. Look at those chiseled looks. He looks like he's built like a shithouse brick. You know, he'd make other men look puny, of course. His name's a bongo, for heaven's sakes. Come on. The type of person who would take your wife, remarry her, and then ask you to be the best man at his wedding. Chief Amachi gave her a divination right there on that night, that weekend, on her birthday. He told her that she was from one of the royal class, that she was a goddess. He told her that she was a queen, and that there was no way that a queen should be treated the way she was treated that weekend. You have to remember that the whole situation with her family wasn't so good either. There was abuse of substances and mental and physical abuse. She had not come from a safe place. She needed protection. From that day on, Chief Amachi knew he had to work very fast. She was from a special bloodline. He knew this, he could feel this. So he took her in and started working on her straight away. From that day on, he started to work fast on this generational curse that had plagued her for so long. This is when ES was inducted into the Intelligencia. The Intelligencia was an organization that helped people to hone their skills in the spirit world. As part of the Intelligencia, she had rules that she had to abide to. Rule number 1 was to respect and trust your elders. Rule number 2 obey everything and anything your elder tells you to do. Whatever they tell you to do, you must do. Always show respect and obedience. This all comes as part of being a spiritual apprentice. And you must finish your apprenticeship before you are able to go out and give divinations yourself. Unfortunately, ES would not finish her apprenticeship with the Intelligencia. This is because as part of this initiation and part of her learning, she had to go out into the woods and collect certain herbs, certain barks, certain things that are going to be used for her medicinal purposes. So, Chief Amachi told ES to go out into the woods and to find these certain herbs and wood bark for her divinations. You see, ES didn't want to follow the rules. She was not one of those types of people that follows rules. She's a rule maker. She is the kind of person who is a leader. She doesn't follow. She leads. This, of course, caused friction between the real leader, Chief Amachi. When ES did not do all the things Chief Amachi had told her to do, he kicked her out of the Intelligencia. She wasn't finished with her apprenticeship, but she felt released, like the chains of bondage had been broken, and once again she was able to use her own intuition. She was able to lead herself in the world. Now, the Intelligencia was supposed to be a place where you would develop the skills to become a seer. That's seer, S-E-E-R. But how could that be possible? To become a seer, you need to be gifted it. It's a gift from the Most High. It's not something you can become. You don't buy some sort of course online and become a seer. Regardless, this is what the Intelligencia were teaching their students. But eventually, ES would have to finish her apprenticeship, if not at the Intelligencia, somewhere else. So ES went in search for another organization where she would be able to finish up her apprenticeship and finally get what she wanted. But she had problems. Time after time after time. Each organization she approached, each one would reject her. This happened for a full 2 years. It must have been extremely frustrating for her. Eventually, she bumped into one diviner that would take her in, someone that would teach her, one chief who had everything she needed in order to make sure that she could finish off her teachings and become a fully fledged diviner.
Yes, in walks Chief Montana, the same Art Cathy Chief Montana. He comes back in to help ES out of her predicament.
Yes, once again, Chief Montana to the rescue. He saves her and brings her back from the brink. So here we are. A year ago, she travels up to northern Ghana and meets the little boy prince and begins to build the Bonsu micro village. And eventually, she will start her organization there. You know, she's gone through a lot. ES has gone through a lot. Even when I watch her now, I see her face. She's absolutely delectable. Every man would look at her and be like, okay, wow, right? See her smile. If you can't see it, if you can't look through the facade of that glorious face and see that there is still pain, that there is still hurt, she still needs to be healed. I mean, it's difficult. It's a difficult situation. Something tells me that this is just the beginning of her journey, and that she has a lot more in offer for us. She had to win it back. He does this by connecting you back to nature so that she could find her happiness again. Chief Amachi actually focused most of his energy towards healing women. I have a feeling I know why, but that is another video for another day. So guys, that's it from me for today, but I'd like to ask you one thing. What do you think about this yourself? Would you ever get yourself a divination? Would you ever pay for a divination? I would love to hear from you in the comment section below. Next video, we are going to go a bit deeper into the organization. We're going to speak a little bit about some of the students from his last class. We're going to talk about voodoo and hoodoo, what's the difference, and how they should be used. We're going to speak about Chief Amachi's induction into the Mamiwama spiritual sect and how his spiritual practices might have led to his untimely death. We've got a lot to get through in the next week, so I'm going to leave it here for tonight. Guys, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, please think twice, ta-ra a bit.